back from the coffee break for another great conversation around collaboration. I hope you enjoyed the break and that you have all taken the opportunity to connect with other professionals at our community Slack channel. This panel is about collaboration. First, how facility managers and service providers can work together, and then how technology can enable that collaboration by improving challenging processes. With me, I have a fantastic team: Louise Erasmus, Neil Pownall, and Ian Perton. Let's get to know them a bit better. Louise, should we start with you?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. I'm Louise Erasmus. I'm the procurement lead for the Rohloff group. So we are responsible for 89 KFC stores in South Africa. We also have a little bit of private properties that we manage. So my role is procure to pay, and yes, that's what I'm doing.
Thank you so much. Ian, can you go next?
Yeah, I'm Ian Perton. I'm a director at CSS Facility Services. We're a second-tier FM company, predominantly in the healthcare and education services sector.
Perfect. And finally, last but not least, Neil.
Hi everyone, my name is Neil Pownall. I run a company called Sunrise Facilities Management. We look after multiple clients across the UK, similar to Ian, actually in healthcare, also in education, and we provide FM services for them 24/7.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Welcome again, guys. Thank you for accepting the invitation to be here today. Let me just remind everyone that they will be available to answer all your questions on the live chat. So if you have any questions for Ian, Neil, or Louise, please do leave them on the chat and we will try to give you an answer as soon as possible. So when we were talking before this panel, we understood that all of you hire suppliers or service providers very frequently. And in the case of Louise, for example, to complement our internal team in maintaining the KFC stores. In the case of Neil and Ian, for example, to answer client challenges and complement a little bit their own teams. How is that process, and what challenges do you usually face when hiring these extra people? Wherever wants to start.
I'm happy to go first. So we being a kind of a facilities management company, we're our management team is constantly looking to recruit contractors or subcontractors around the country. To look after clients. I guess the biggest challenge is, well, at the moment in the UK, certainly, it's actually finding competent quality contractors that actually want to take on more work. Well, we find a lot of contractors are quite reluctant currently to take on more clients and more work. There's a skill shortage, which is quite tricky. So we find a lot of our contractors taking on agreements with us to look after our client sites, and then being a bit stretched and struggling to meet their SLA and their KPI commitments. So quite a lot of hard work. I mean, you can find them. There's no doubt about it. Tend to be word of mouth referral, as Ian, I'm guessing as well. People that have worked in the sector, so understand healthcare, understand their environments they're working in. But it's a challenge at the moment. It's a real challenge with the workforce, with labour. I mean, we look at we have a lot of clients as well who are doing new construction, new building sites, and they're being delivered continuously late, handed over to us late. So they're struggling as well. So in the kind of new build sector, but as well as maintenance service environment. Really tricky, using a lot of things like LinkedIn as well, social platforms that you can use that are work related to try and find contractors. But really, you want somebody who knows your environment, worked in the client environment before, and has been referred and recommended. So you can all but trust them when they start. Really, you want to be able to trust somebody from the off, because they are the face of your company when they go through that door.
Exactly,
and they don't work directly for you.
Yeah, that's the main issue, right? Like it's your company that it's at stake in the end. So 100%. You really need to trust these people, right? Ian, do you have the same issue?
Yeah, definitely. Just especially in like the healthcare, having people understand that you can turn up to do something and there might be somebody still on the operating table. You have to then wait for maybe 1 or 2 hours before you can then start again. And it's I suppose the general FM is 9 till 5 sort of hours, whereas in healthcare it's 7 o'clock at night till 3 in the morning, or 3 in the morning till 7. You have to work around what the actual clients' needs are really, and having subcontractors and engineers to bring on board that can understand that it's not going to be regular 9 till 5 work. It's some night shift, some early, some day shift, and being able to be flexible like that is very hard to find in the marketplace. Companies that can react quickly as well to those changes.
So,
we definitely see that as well.
Okay, I have some questions regarding this, but I would like to hear Louise's experience as well when hiring suppliers.
Yeah, we also hire outside contractors. For us, it's very easy to get an electrician, for example, for our equipment, but they do need a special skill for this equipment, it's specialized parting and all that. So we do send them for training. We have our internal team. We also send them for certification and training. So suppliers for general maintenance in the buildings, that's everywhere. You can get that easily. That's where the specified supplying comes in on the parts in the equipment and the fridges, that type of thing. That's where we have to do a little bit of work. Internally, we do have a normal electrician, normal plumber, normal persons, and then we up their skill set with sending them for the relevant YUM training that they need. So yeah, we do also have challenges on that for specialized suppliers.
So my question will be related to how do you track the quality of the service? So for example, Neil and Ian, and even you, Louise, when you hire suppliers, do you have any process to actually ensure that they are delivering that quality that you want to deliver to your clients? And how can you track it exactly? Do you have a way of doing it? Maybe start with Neil.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's obviously there's KPIs, SLAs, whatever you want to call them. You can check that. I think the difficulty with any KPI is they're very hard to monitor. They're very hard to get the data in so that they're accurate. And also people. So first time fix is a good one. We had a contractor who called a first time fix as long as they didn't have to go back twice. Which bemused me, but that's how they were reporting, because they'd been to the initial. If they go back then with the part and fix it, that's the first time. I would argue against that. But so finding those performance criteria that are very clearly defined, I find them, they've got to be very simple, really simple. I mean, the most simple one is getting there on time. If you're on a 4-hour call out, are you there within 4 hours? But then is it 4 hours from when the client reports it to you and then you report it to them, or is it 4 hours total? So you've got to very clearly define them, and then you need the data to then report on them, because even if 2 or 3 are wrong, they'll punch holes at all of your reporting and say, well, hang on, that's not right. So then are any of them correct? So, we're here to talk a little bit about InfoSpeak as well, of course. There's a start and a pause and a close on every job. Now, if your site person doesn't do any of that, the KPIs are lost, very simply. So we find those hard to report back to our supply chain on genuinely, and give them, maybe if we get 80% of it correct, but then of course just a couple of jobs way wrong, and then those statistics are skewed massively and they're kind of useless. Anecdotal, I'd say anecdotal still works. It still works. If you get rumblings of a supplier, there's normally some truth behind it, as long as it's not one person. Anecdotal evidence. I think speaking to clients, regular meetings with them, monthly, weekly, even if it's a 20-minute on a Friday with the regional person from your client, how's it going? What do you feel? What do you think? And if you start hearing the same supplier's name all the time, you've probably got an issue, and then you can dig. But anecdotal works really well. And of course, there's the feedback, formal feedback loops. You've got various systems, certainly in the UK, that you can use for feedback. Surveys, you can do SurveyMonkey if you want to capture a load of information at one point, or you can do continuous surveys. They can kind of frustrate clients, I think, if you're always asking for feedback. So you've got to get the balance right. But they work as well as a kind of a snapshot of how things go. But yeah, honestly, you can't beat anecdote. You can't beat people just talking to them, constant communication. And if you're hearing contractors' names, there's an issue. You've got to then go and have a look at them more closely, and then you can start using the data and drag some information out and sit them down. So that old-fashioned but works the best way. Talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talking. True indeed. You, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, like Neil said, finding out on the ground is the only way, because your customer's only going to bring up the bad things. When everything's going fine, they're not going to let you know how well or how bad someone's doing. They're just going to bring up when something's gone wrong. But we do regular through having the ISO 9000 as well. We do regular supplier evaluations, and we'll send our team of engineers in, and they will do the evaluations on our subcontractors. So they're looking at it from both the mechanical expertise on site and other customers getting value for money from us, really, with our subcontractors. Things going right. Is the project on time? Is there slippage? Why is there slippage? Is it something that can be sorted? And again, with, like Neil said as well, keeping the SLAs very simple, because the more complicated you make it, the harder it is to actually record that information as well at the end of the day, because you've got to then constantly try and bring that information back in. So if it's a very simple, are they there on time? Is the work completed on time? Everyone will get ticks. Everyone's happy. The client will be happy. We'll be happy with good subcontractors as well then.
True indeed. And you, Louise, how do you usually keep track of the quality of service that they deliver to you and your teams?
I also have proper onboarding when I do onboard a supplier. We do site visits as well to visit the suppliers at their premises. And then also we've been using InfraSpeak's work order reporting. So we've had a condition put in there that we do pay on closed work orders. That's to our suppliers. So it's a little bit of a push for them to use it. That was our biggest challenge when we moved over to InfraSpeak, is to get the suppliers to use the system properly, the stop and start and pause functions. But it's been improving very well. In the meantime, I have a KPI dashboard where we match to the work orders. It's been going up. It's not been going down, and that's where I'm heading. I'm getting this done. So it's still a new system by us. We only went live on the 7th of April in 2022. So everybody is still learning where they must go, what they must do. And new suppliers get onboarded with, this is the condition. You won't get your payment if the work order was not utilized properly. Started, paused, stopped, whatever, filled in the information. So it's going well with us.
Perfect. So all of you mentioned some common things. So the first thing is communication is super important. So we need to be in constant communication with our customer, and speaking sometimes is the best way. But I also know that your lives are not easy. You're usually running around the whole time. So it's maybe difficult sometimes to make sure that this communication happens or to have time for everyone. You also said that technology has been helping somehow, either with InfraSpeak or other systems, but it has been helping in making sure that these processes run. And then finally, you also said that although technology is helping, sometimes you have a challenge as well in training teams. So in having people using the solutions that you are using to make sure that you have the right KPIs, for example, or the right data. So my question will be, how do you think that we can improve technology so the technology can actually enable your operation in a better way? So what other things we should consider? And if technology is the answer or not. So what's your view on what can be done more, and how can we actually make sure that people are using and valuing the data that we can insert, and making sure as well that the teams are inserting that data into the systems? Whoever wants to go. Go ahead, yeah.
So I think from a technology point of view, helping out everything, I think automation is key now. Taking mundane, repetitive tasks away from back office functions and being very much more automated for instance, a job finishing, that automatically puts the report together and sends it to the client. They've got it, it's signed off. Once the client signed off on the job, it's invoicing the job. It's automating the whole process, really, just to streamline everything. Now, obviously, there's complications around mechanical works and stuff like that with automating some of the stuff, but generally, report-wise is very key in the industry, I think, in how your report looks and the customers signing off on things. So we spent a lot of time around that. And once the guys have finished, or girls have finished their engineering works, the customer can physically see those reports straight away, basically. That takes out the need for us to intervene from a back office point of view, having people know what they're looking at as well. You don't really need to know exactly what the job was. They can physically see what it was and send it on as a completed report. And I think that's really key to streamline the business, really, and speed things up, really, getting things back to the customers. I mean, we do a lot of PPM work, and from that, there could be some remedial works that the client needs to know early doors straight away, rather than waiting for a report to come a day later. They need to know there and then that there's an issue with something, that it could be out of our remit and it could be thrown back because of another contract with another company that needs to be intervened with another part of the process that's affecting things. So it's very key to have something that goes instantly back to the customer, I think, nowadays.
I know by me.
Louise,
Sorry.
Louise, internet issues here. I just heard you after I was speaking. So go ahead. Thank you.
That's fine. On my side, I think technology, definitely. I'm also for automating 90% of the work, because if there's fingers in there, we're going to find problems. I would like for workflow approvals to be built better for me in my side of the business, based on values. We do have the normal workflow, but an approval, but I would have liked it a little bit more intense and more strategic. But other than that, I think it's built very well. We are using it very efficiently. It's just for us, I think it will be the main thing, that workflow approvals strategically.
My turn. I wrote a few notes here, kind of technology versus tradition as well. What you just generally in society, you've got a lot of people hiding behind technology as well. So if you look at a work order for us, we do lots of small repairs for our clients. So, and if it goes well, nobody speaks to anybody. So we can have it reported from site, sent to a contract, signed in on site, completed, even if they have to go for parts, finished, done. Nobody's spoken to anybody. And I think, kind of society in general doesn't talk that much anymore. We text, we message, whatever. So I think technology is great, and both these guys spot on with regards to data and info. It's great for holding data and info, and of course, it's any CAFM or CMS system is a massive time clock, isn't it? It's an aid memoir. It's a memory aid of what you need to be doing. It's when you need to do it. It's how long it's taking, and it's gathering huge amounts of data, which is perfect for then reporting. But day to day, I don't know. It keeps people off the phones. We're hiring people in the admin roles on the help desk, and they're loath to pick up the phone. They send messages on the message board all the time rather than pick up the phone. And unfortunately, I think the technology side's making people hide more behind screens, which is true for the world over, right? So, and then there's the issue about complexity versus simplicity as well. I think I've used many CAFM systems, and some are very complex, which is great. So, for example, in InfraSpeak, there's 4 priorities. Some people probably like 6, or we deal with defects for our clients. We could do with 8. But do we need them, or do we work around what we've got? Also, things like the user profiles. Do we need more because they've got access restrictions and limitations? That some point in the middle, you might need more. But also, it's simple. I like the fact it's really simple. You don't overthink it. You can't tick 1,000 boxes as to what everyone can do. So there's that balance between simplicity and complexity, which when we were launching the system with ourselves is really an interesting one. If you're very pedantic and detailed, which I am sometimes, you kind of want people to do, I see, a little bit more or less than they can do. But it's simple. It's a trade-off between simplicity and complexity. So in technology, I think it's really important. I think we try to overcomplicate things, and at the end of the day, you know, we've got users that can go in and kind of do things we wouldn't want them to do, but they don't do it. Why would they? So it's a case of saying, well, not going to do it, so don't worry about it. So I think it works to be real simple as well with technology. And we go back to the KPI thing as well. The simpler, the better. The more reliable, the better. You know, we collect so much data. Half the clients, they're not interested. You know, they want to go into a building and go, is anything broken I need to know about? Is everything okay? And is everything serviced up to date? And you go, yeah. You go, well, I don't need to see a report. You know, I'm happy. They want to see a report and there's a problem. To kind of prove there's not a problem, if you like. But generally, all this data we capture, cost data on all the assets, performance data, none of the clients are interested. They send the reports. I don't read them. So it's great, but it's a great sales point. It's a great USP when you come to sell your services. If you've got all of this in your armory, it really helps. It does. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. We can do that. But you know, boards of healthcare companies are massively busy nowadays, so they might have a flick over it if you speak to them about it. But other than that, as long as it's going okay and don't hear any bad news, carry on.
It's very funny because sometimes people tend to make things very complex, and you all mentioned something common, that it's make it simple. Automating, you know, simplifying the workflows. So in the end, what we want is to make sure that technology is an enabler of your work. So you're not working for the technology. So you don't have to force your team to fill in specific fields, or it needs to be part of the whole workflow. It needs to collaborate. So technology and people working together and not one working for the other, in order to make sure that we have what we need in the end. So this is very good. It's basically streamlining everything, making sure that everything is working together. Because in the end, what you want is to make sure that you're collaborating with the best people and you're making more business. That's what everyone wants, right? Even your clients, they just want to make sure that everything is working, and not like sometimes look at a big chunk of data in a report. So makes perfect sense. And my next question will be, how do you think, or even better, do you think that we talk nowadays a lot about integrating all systems, integrating all companies, you know, like making sure that we almost have like the same workplace. So do you think that making sure that, for example, two very different companies can work together when you hire a supplier, for example, in being able to work in your system, or you being able to input data in his system, will make these more simple as you were looking for, or simpler as you were looking for?
Yes, for me, definitely. We have been already testing and using it like that, and it's been working brilliantly. It completely took away the function of my team uploading documents like quotes and reports, service reports, because the supplier now does that himself. And then it's automated directly to the operational department, which is taking 3 or 4 steps away from the procurement and supply chain. So definitely it makes a big difference on our side to have the suppliers collaborate with us on the same system.
I think from our point of view as well, being able to get on someone else's system to complete reports saves us a lot of time as well, because we'll tend to have to do a report and then change it so that our customer can send it to their client, if you like. So if we can do it on their system already, that's just saved a whole lot of pain and structure from the back office, really, of just being able to, it's our customer, they've got their report, it's dealt with, we don't need to intervene any further then. We're changing logos and updated stuff, so it's much better for us as well.
For us, it depends on the supplier. and there's a couple of issues. If they are very big supplier that we might inherit, they are more difficult to get to align with our system, probably because they're using multiple systems of other clients, and also they'll have their own core system that they use for their engineers to send them around the country. Likewise, actually, if we're looking after some specialist kit where it's a very small supplier, they know they're the only person that can look after it. They're not very helpful. But in the main, we find the contractors, who we send out to do the maintenance repairs, they are pretty good, very good indeed. They like the system. They think it's very simple, and some of them I think have gone on to take it on themselves. So it works really well. And you're right, both of you, Louise. You mentioned uploading certificates, uploading paperwork, uploading quotes. We've got to be a little bit careful because we work for multiple clients, and uploading financial information from a subcontractor, we have a margin, is tricky. But we've gone down the road to open book percentages, so we're not that bothered because of that. They can risk uploading things that we didn't want them to upload that the client can access from their side. So again, it's this simplicity thing. You just got to not worry too much about that. But I know there's viewpoints you can switch people on and off to see things, but it works really well. I think the contractors use the system strangely far better than our clients do, and it's our clients who are paying for it, which is strange. But they're pretty good. They're pretty good at using it. They like it, and it keeps everyone up to date.
So before my last question, I just have a challenge for you. So in the beginning, we were talking about quality of service and how difficult it is sometimes to find the best partner because there's also a skills shortage. Is there any way that you think we could solve this, or with technology or without technology? But is there any way that you think we could find the solution for this?
For a skills shortage?
Not only, but for finding the
political question.
Well, it will be amazing if we had the final answer for that. But like, if there was a way that we could actually make sure that we were selecting the best partner, like a system that would help us create some criteria or evaluate partners, like a global network, imagine, of people that we could hire with those recommendations that you were talking about, a kind of word of mouth, but like technological network, word of mouth, I don't know, just throwing it to the table.
Well, they exist, don't they? So, they do exist. There's various, we've got things like Check a Trade in the UK and kind of approved contractor schemes. You mentioned ISO 9000. So I've got accredited contractor. Louise, it was actually that mentioned diligence with regard to selection and performance, actually done in the diligence, isn't it, of go and visit their offices, who are they, who they work for. So there kind of are ways you can say, but yeah, you always find the best contractor by word of mouth and networking. And there's lots of, LinkedIn is probably the biggest international and global. You can use contacts on there. But the smaller ones, there's smaller networks within sectors. We're a member of the Care Leaders Network, which is a small care home, elderly care network where there's suppliers on and clients, and we chat amongst ourselves there. So all of that type of it, it's time consuming. It's very time consuming to do that, but it's really important because, like we said, half an hour or so ago, if you get it wrong, the wrong person walks in the door, and as far as the client's concerned, they work for you. They're representing you. It doesn't matter who they are. They're you, basically. So it's really important. But you've got to do your homework. We have a contracts management team, and they really do. PQQ is the pre-qualifier information is quite a stringent process, and you've got to spend the time to do it, or else you risk getting it wrong. And we work in healthcare, so if you get it wrong in healthcare, it's reasonably disastrous. They say walking into operating theatres when you haven't let anyone know you're turning up is not a good start.
No.
Ian knows that as well, very well.
Yeah, just following on from Neil, PQQs, obviously there's companies out there like Achilles and Safe Contractor that help you get all that information together along with your ISOs, and like Neil with the networking, as you know, I run several networking events across the UK for FM, so I'm a big advocate of LinkedIn and networking and face-to-face networking. So once you know people, especially in the networking, it's much easier to train people because you've got that. I know who I need to speak to if something's gone wrong, and if something's gone wrong, and you know that somebody's going to rectify it quickly, because things do go wrong, and it's sometimes out of people's control. But if it's rectified quickly and dealt with the right way, then put that aside and move on. And if it's all been sorted, it helps that you know people face to face to be able to deal with that quickly, rather than you've just phoned someone up, booked some of their engineers in, but you don't really know anybody to, if there is an issue, or the guys have left too early or too late, or they're not there, who's going to turn up? And you're phoning just random people on a phone. It makes a massive difference if you actually know who you can eventually talk to. And I think that's a big thing, especially with subcontracting stuff out, that you can get things rectified or understand what's going on if there's an issue.
Louise, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I think I've gained a lot of flexibility in rendering services also via contacts that we have. But I would have also loved to have a web or a hub where suppliers with their skill sets could register and you could just work from there. Because we do have scarcity as well here in South Africa for certain type of skills. But yes, I think that is definitely, I think that would be awesome to have like if it can speak to your current system. You don't want more and more systems if it's based on your current system where you can see the suppliers that the person uses, another company also using that system, their suppliers. I think it will be an awesome experience.
Thank you so much. My last question, very philosophical one. How do you see the future of FM? What do you think will be the trends for the next few years? What do you think will be the challenges? Whatever you want to mention, but when you think about the future of FM, what comes to your mind? Who wants to go first?
I'll go briefly first. I think the FM is still one of the largest growing marketplaces, even through after the pandemic. Should I mention it, that there's a lot of remote working now. Office spaces are sitting 50% vacant, and I still think that the workforce will go back to the office. I don't think it will be a complete remote working situation still. So I see that area still growing. You still see, obviously live in London, you still see all the city blocks going up, and there's still lots of building work going on around the country. So I don't see that curtailing. Certainly in healthcare, there's lots of new hospitals going in, lots of investment in that area. Someone needs to look after all that equipment, so it's a growing market. And I think with the technology coming in, it opens the field for more and more automation and being able to react to something quicker than waiting for something to break down. Especially with IoT and monitoring things and picking up things before it drops off, then I think that's where the future of FM is going to be, in a lot of IoT and reacting before something breaks.
It's a bright future, I would say, in your opinion. So, Louise, do you want to go?
Yes. So I also think it's a bright future, definitely. I think your administration work, which will be your finance and all that, I think most of that reporting, analytics, I think that will be automated completely. You'll maybe have those clever developers doing here and there a thing, but it won't be necessarily needed for clerks anymore, because it might just be automated completely in the future. You will still need your skilled electrician or technician that's in the field taking care of that equipment, but I think the administration of mainly everything can become completely automated in a point in the future.
And finally, to Neil.
Yeah, just look at some trends. You've got, you touched on the demographics as well. We look at demographics, and we do with elderly care. You've got to look at demographics. So we look after student accommodation, and that's going up at a heck of a rate. Although there's a look on the horizon that the number of students going to university in the UK might start to decline. Elderly care, the ageing population means that will increase. So you've got to look at demographics in the sector and as to what your demand might be, because then it's facilities management. The key being facilities. If there's more facilities, there's more opportunity. And then, of course, costs are increasing ridiculously in the UK. Technology is going to improve, but also, I don't know if it can get any tighter, but health and safety. And also intelligent users, people are realising if you don't maintain something and it breaks down, there's going to be a cost, risk, a downtime, a detriment to your operation, and also health and safety. So with all those kind of trends, I think it's as long as you position yourself correctly, there's plenty of opportunity out there if you are a quality provider, which I'm sure all three of us are. Finishing on.
A lot of food for thought here. Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of our session. I know we could be here for another hour discussing these topics. I have no doubt about it. You have been amazing. Thank you so much again for accepting this invitation, for being here with us today, sharing your knowledge and experience. You have been great. Thank you so much, guys.
No problem. Thank you.
But the party continues, and we have two more wonderful conversations coming. 2 fireside chats with 2 great professionals, one focused on the facility management side, the other one on the facility service side. We'll start right away, so choose the one you prefer to watch right now and go ahead. You can always go and watch the other one later. I know it will be worth it. Stay with us and enjoy. Thank you again. Bye-bye.